So today we're going to talk about a topic for new riders that most kite schools will not talk about, which is how challenging it's going to be after lessons for you to get out and for you to ride on your own. No one talks about it because if you told new riders that it was going to be this complicated, nobody would take kite surfing lessons. In the name of transparency, I'm going to tell you about the good, bad, and the ugly. And today we're going to focus on what you should pay attention to in lessons so that you can gather all that knowledge and you're better set up and you're going to be able to ride independently more quickly afterwards. Cool. So why is riding independently on your own so tricky? Well, the first reason is there's just so many different variables. There's too many for a new rider. So kite sizes, kite rider weight, kiter's skill. Different kite surfing spots have different conditions and different types of wind and different wind direction and different tides. It's just too much for someone to take in all that information in 3 lessons for 3 hours each. It's just not possible. Next, as a new rider, you don't know what you don't know. And often you have to have a situation or you have to make a mistake to realize, oh shit, I need to learn about this stuff. And last but not least, as a new rider, everyone is just so psyched to get out and riding. They're focused on water starts, they're focused on riding. They're not focused and paying attention to these other skills. That's why I'm going to talk through those today. And this is really where you should focus when you're in your lessons. So my number one tip for new riders when you're taking lessons is to write down the information that might not make sense when you're a new rider, but it's going to help you later. And so that is kite size, board size, wind speed, wind direction. Take a screenshot of your local wind forecast app and start to plot these things out so that later on you start to get a feel for these things when you're riding on your own, and you can start to figure out what kite you're going to need or what type of equipment you should buy later. I'll leave a link down below for a spreadsheet that people can fill out as part of their lessons to start keeping track of these things, and then it'll all start to make sense later as you get more experience. Next tip I have is learn to rig your own kite. So many kite schools will set your kites up for you. It's nice, you're in a rush, you want to get out there. Ultimately, you need to be able to do this yourself. Learn how to rig it upwind, learn how to rig it downwind. I really like to recommend walking your lines twice. Walk it out once, set it up, go back to the bar, walk it again. As a new rider, you don't want to launch your kite, realize your lines are twisted. Get these skills down now. Next is launching and landing. Same thing, a lot of kite schools will launch the kite for new riders and switch over in the water. A lot of kite schools will land for you because it's precarious. Insist on getting these skills yourself. You want to launch the kite, learn about walking forwards and backwards and feel the kite power up so that you know when you have power in your kite.
I'm going to walk forward and then I'm going to feel it catch the wind, and then I'm going to walk backward and I'm going to feel it not catch the wind. So I think that's really important for someone to do.
You also want to get really comfortable raising up that kite super slowly in a controlled manner, because this is the number one spot where things go wrong for new riders when they're going out for their first session. All right, so next is flying a kite. Ultimately, the most important skills that you need to pick up in kite lessons is kite control and kite flying. Almost everything else you can figure out afterwards. And so that is really steering the kite, powering, depowering, sheeting in, sheeting out. You want to get as much kite flying time in those lessons as possible. It's why I don't recommend group lessons, because you're rotating that kite. And the more kite flying skills you have later, the faster you'll be riding independently down the road. Next is body dragging, the unsung hero of lessons. No one wants to do it. Everyone's annoyed to learn it, but you need to know how to body drag, because when you're riding on your own, you're going to lose your board and you're going to need to be able to get back to that board quickly and efficiently. You may also encounter situations where you want to get away from the busy shore where all the other riders are, and body dragging is the best way to do it. It's not the most fun, but it's a super important skill. I once spent an entire lesson learning this. I was so annoyed, I was so frustrated, but it paid off much later because I was just much more confident when I was out there on my own. Next, water starts. These actually aren't as important as you might think. You just want to get experience feeling generating power as you swoop the kite. You want to feel what it's like to have too little power. You want to feel what it's like to have a little bit, maybe too much power and go over your board. But this is something that you can get down and you can get your consistency down when you're riding on your own later. A more important skill than water starts is going to be relaunching your kite when it's on the water. I promise you, when you're on your own, your kite's going to hit the water and you're going to need to be able to get it back up. So if it doesn't happen naturally in lessons, make sure to ask your instructor. Put that kite on the water, practice bringing it out to the edge of the wind window, relaunching it, getting back up in the air. You don't want to be figuring this out for the first time on your own. Next, this is the least glamorous, most painful skill, and it's the biggest confidence booster. Learn to self-rescue. Don't just learn the theory, but actually do it in your lessons. I took lessons at New York Kite School. They forced me to do a self-rescue multiple times out on the water. In my head, I was like, this is such a waste of time. Why am I learning this? But you want to learn what it feels like to pull that safety release. You want to learn how complicated it is to wind up those lines and what it feels like to get closer to your kite in full wind power and sail that kite back in from shore, because you don't want to do that on your own. You're going to feel like an idiot already, but at least you have these foundational skills down after that. All right, last and most critical tip, it's the unsung hero of lessons, and that is walking back up the beach with your kite. When you're first riding, you're not going to be able to stay upwind, and you're going to have to be able to get back upwind on your own. Usually that involves the walk of shame. That involves body dragging back out to the beach, walking all the way back up to the beach, getting comfortable, going back in the water. And so in your lessons, ask your instructor, hey, what's the best way to walk up the beach? Should I do one hand? Should I do two hands? How do I depower the bar so that when I walk, I'm not completely exhausted fighting the kite the entire way up? Figure out which side of you the kite should be on so that it's more safe for you when you're on land. Super foundational skill, one you're going to use a lot as soon as you're out there on your own. Cool, so those are my tips. Those are the things to pay attention to in lessons. I got a few bonus tips. First and foremost, if you're not comfortable after lessons riding on your own, talk to the kite school about supervised riding. A lot of them will offer a cheaper option than lessons. Maybe they'll follow you on jet skis or on a boat, or they'll have another kite instructor out there, but they'll get you out there practicing your skills on your own with someone keeping an eye on you. Next, make friends in lessons. Kiting itself happens when you're usually by yourself, but the launching, landing, all of the time on the beach is a super social sport, and so having other people with the same level of skills as you, it's super helpful. It's better to have a group. You can help each other out, exchange numbers in your lessons. Last but not least, remember, failing is learning. Every time you go out there and something doesn't work out, that is a major lesson that you're taking and you're internalizing, and you're building out your kite skills so that you can recognize all of these situations in the future. Don't think of it as failure. It's just part of the learning process. Cool. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you guys found that useful. My goal is just to get more of you more comfortable more quickly post lessons, transitioning to riding on your own, getting out there and having a blast. If you'd like to give me a thumbs up, if I said something really stupid, call me out in the comments down below, and thanks for watching.